It is Hatspat System here. So earlier we actually did a video and the sound didn't record properly. So I'm going to see how the mic works through the headphones. It worked earlier, so I'm going to see how well it does, and if it works well for videos, then I might just start using these to talk in the headphones through. Okay, so yes, our our last video, we had a comment from a friend of ours, and they asked, what was the question? The question was, when did Zyla take on more of the host role? So Zyla is a combination of a bunch of different alters, I guess, growing up throughout childhood to create her, because when she told us her actual name, Zyla, presented in high school as far as like the actual name and taking on all of her trauma that she holds. In high school was when there was like, we definitely heard Zyla was her name. And so that was high school. And then in the 20s, when the body was in the 20s, Zyla found her middle and last name, and it was A. Paris, Zyla A. Paris. Yes, okay, so we have right here, I wrote it down. So our system is very large, huge, massive, and complicated, and it's a lot, so bear with me. This is hosts. So the body, when we refer to like the body or something, Lex is as closest to the body's birth dead name that you will ever get. So like when we go to work, or so Lex would be like a work name because it resembles most to the body's name. Now, Zyla A. Paris from Zapstem. So Hatspat System is also broke down into subsystems. Like our system, Hatspat System, doesn't have just alters that have roles for these things. No, we have specific subsystems. So Zapstem, Zyla A. Paris is STEM. She's like the host of this particular STEM. She holds all of the Jesus trauma. Riker is a part of the Irif STEM. They are mostly protectors. And all of these hosts, we have five main ones here, and they're all the hosts. So they do the normal stuff in the body. They've been in the body the longest. They are the ones basically that are diagnosed, because we're diagnosed with DID, schizoaffective major depressive disorder, like an ADHD thing, and I want to say like one or two more things, but I can't remember. Those are the main ones. So that is the diagnosis, and everything is all of these five main people. Now, Zyla is also number one because she is the gatekeeper for like the whole system. Basically, I think. We're still trying to figure it out. So, another host would be, now with these hosts, each one will front for a different scenario. Now, Blair doesn't like to front as far as like be on camera or come out and like do things in the body. Like, she just helps the other ones fulfill their desires to do tarot, and basically she makes it okay to do tarot and all the witchy stuff, or when we're feeling like we need to do tarot, it's Blair. So Blair's doing the tarot, but it's not like she doesn't have like a voice. I don't know, like she talks to us and stuff, or we'll feel it, but like we don't hear like her voice, and she doesn't come out in the body and like say things really. Like she'll be around and influencing the rest of us, and we'll, you know, do things that she wants to do, but that we don't really know that much more about Blair, just that she's the witch and all witchiness goes through her and her stem. Also, these 5 hosts, I think hosts mainly deal with the outer world. So, and hosts versus fronters, or an alter who is particularly fronting at the time. A host also is usually considered closest to the body's supposed to be original personality. But no, that's confusing to us. I don't think so. So we have 5 main hosts because they've been here the longest. They have the overall... They're the head of each of their stem. Like our... Hosts versus fronters, yeah. They're the hosts. They've been here the longest. Their memories are, you know, all jacked up. But then there will be alters that have specific memories. Like, for example, our alter Stemanthony is an alter who has OCD and also holds stare trauma from when we were a child and stuck at 9 years old. Now, this alter particularly doesn't ever front necessarily, kind of like Blair, like doesn't come out and like say or do things anymore. It's just like we see chairs, stairs, blah, 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 stairs, and it's like immediate anxiety, panic attack, heart racing, can't breathe, we hold our breath. Like stairs are traumatizing. Climbing, anything to do with stairs. Like if there's a ramp, we're going to take the ramp rather than walking either 1 step or 2 steps or three steps up. No, ramp, please. Yeah. So, and so she doesn't ever, you know, she's just there to be OCD and stare trauma. Like, that's exists. That's the, now Pizza is also a host. He is a little, he's 5. He is the spokesperson for our littles. So like all of the littles are going to be basically introduced to him, through him, speak to him, buddies with him, all of that. Pizza also, even though he's a child, he holds a lot of responsibility because he can do adult things. He knows like adult concepts. He's very smart, can deal with a lot of stuff. He has trauma stories of his own that he holds. Yeah, so hosts versus fronting. So, for example, right now, who is talking to you is, we're just talking to you as a system. And this is like Lex Body's normal type voice. Now, sometimes, so like if we're going to do a video and we have a hard time starting, sometimes either Riker, Skylar, or Kirsten, Pizza's done it once or twice before, will come out and kind of first start saying, hello, we are Hatspat System, or this is Hatspat System, or say their name and who they are, and then it makes it easier for the rest of us to come out and start talking about what we need to. So that's fronting versus an actual host, because Kirsten is one, she's Russian, so she'll speak English but have a Russian accent. She is a fronter. She's not a host. She mainly works in the inner world, teaching other alters how to be in the body in that Euro system and out in the outer world. So sometimes she'll front, and that's when you hear her accent pop up in the sentence that we're trying to say or what we're talking about. And that's just fronting real quick. So we do rapid switches a lot, like all the time. It's how we live life. Because along with the hosts, like, so the hosts are the ones that'll like wake up in the morning. We are the ones that possibly connect more in the dreams. We kind of overall know what's going on in the system. We front more, we're more in the outer world versus what's happening internally. We are the ones that are out here experiencing everything, so we feel all the emotions. We hear the headspace chatter, the dissociation, the amnesia, a lot of that. Because when Zyla was answering questions in the hospital, she would be her answers were like, well, my memory starts at like 7 years old and then like 9 years old and then jumps to like high school and there's a few bits and then like just what's been happening in the past, like, in our 20s. So Zyla is more high school and on with just a few memories of the past, whereas the deeper you go into her stem, other alters that maybe haven't quite either shared with us our names, or we just have so many that sometimes our robot technology while Leva stem will come out and be like, alter A 113, alter B 113 of Zap stem, gave you the answer or something. We're working on those too. It's fun. And then, so did that answer a little bit between fronting versus hosts? Also, another example that could help with fronting versus hosts is, so fronting would be Zyla is talking about something and will start crying. Now, Zyla may possibly have some sad emotions, but the crying part is our alter cry. We literally have an alter named Cry, and in the inner world, all they do is cry. And so in the outer world, when the body is crying, that means that alter cry is present, because Cry is crying for the rest of us, because it's Cry. Their role is crying all the time. So if the body is crying, then that means that Cry is fronting at the moment. And that would mean that the host is crying, the host currently is crying, and the alter cry is fronting because the body and host are crying. Cool, I hope that explained. Somebody else. Something. Hello? Hello? Anybody in here? Hello? Oh. Yes. Okay, thank you, Kirsten. So we were talking about hosts versus fronters. Yes. So a host will go to the doctor's appointment. So, for example, Lex, the body, is in a doctor's appointment, and the therapist or whatever is asking something like, how do you feel about this? Or like, what's your emotion? And Zyla's answer would be like, well, I'm depressed and I watch movies. That's who I am. And while the therapist might be getting more deeper into a traumatic situation, because Zyla can't handle it anymore, the question will be asked, there would be some dissociation, Zyla would step back, and then Rika would step forward with the answer to answer whatever it was that you were asking, and my posture, the body's posture would change, sit very differently, facial expressions are different, emotions are different. There have been a time when we have actually were able to pay attention to the switching, and we switched, and like immediately we went from Zyla being legs crossed like a proper lady to immediately me switching in, answering something I don't know, and I realized that it was me answering, and but not in the way that I'm talking now. It was, you know, through the normal body's voice, and immediately crossed my legs. Like they would cross like this for Zyla, and then they went, you know, when you put your leg up on your knee and you hold it like that, like how normally a man sits versus normally how a lady sits. And yeah, it was like, oh damn, we just switched, and I'm Riker, and I just answered that question. And then it went into more headspace and dissociation chatter as far as like, well, why couldn't I start talking like this? And it's like, because in those situations and growing up, like the main five, we've had to be Lex and the body and talk like her, or like how she would, or how that body does normally. So us five are those five main stems that have to deal with the outer world more than the other stems. Yeah, we don't always get to actually talk like how we talk normal on the inner world of what we know ourselves to be and what we can do when we're in a safe space and comfortable like this. Like in a normal situation, like outside on the street, you probably wouldn't hear me talk like this. No, like you would definitely be able to tell that it would still be me because the voice would change. It's just completely different when I am out triggered for protection versus protection just answering a question. Like if I, Riker, had to fight, it would be different than a Riker in protect defensive mode in therapy. Like fighting is very different than just therapy protection, you know. So that's where those two differences lie. And then I don't remember what else they were saying before I chimed in. Excuse me. Give me a minute and let me see who else wants to go or what. Yeah, so along with host versus criers, I just read my notes. Host versus fronters. So, you know, we wake up, we hear the thoughts and everything. Yeah, a fronter would be fronting for the moment when we need to clean. So Carrie, the cleaner, will come out and clean for us, dishes, bathtub when we need to. And then sometimes also it takes days, if not a good few weeks, to bring Carrie to the front to do cleaning, like, because we don't know if she actually likes it or if it's just a trauma thing. That's her position. And again, I believe that all the altars that we're meeting right now are the like top fronting host altars for their particular stems. Yeah, and so the main hosts, since there's 5 in our case, we can be having like a normal conversation with somebody. Pizza would answer a part of it. Kirsten would answer the next part. And so the host experiences dissociation during the whole conversation while hanging out with these people, because we're rapid switching with different people fronting. I'm trying to think of another way to explain that. So let's think of it like this. There's a person, an individual, with puppets. The altar that you see, the hosts, are the puppets on the hands. Because, again, just a body, doesn't matter. The altars are the puppets on the hands with the body's face, because it's the individual. So here's the puppets. And the altar that will be fronting will like sneakily come in to the puppet, like a different hand switching it out. Different, I guess, if hopefully that explains it. And then that's all I got. So, different fronters at different times. So the host, that puppet, will not remember full conversations, just bits and pieces. And then 3 years later, you could be talking to this person about this conversation that y'all had years ago and talking about this happened and kind of reflecting, and those alters will come back in bits and pieces how it was and be like, yeah, I remember. Oh, yeah, that's right. And we did do that. And it's like that alter that comes back and remembers it and continues the conversation, whereas the host still has no idea, what happened. Or sometimes it could be confusing, like, oh, well, I kind of heard this, but I didn't fully understand it, or I just don't know. Yeah. Okay. I guess that's it, guys. Peace out. Bye.